and we're off and running to the races. We'll see what people ask today. Like, yay! And today my fairy wand wanted to come. I was telling somebody what this was going to be like. They wanted every rock I had. Guess they have a variety of tastes. Jonathan! Hi, Jonathan! Nice to see you back. We've had a slow week. Or a weird week. I don't know what to call it. We had a visitor from our past come to visit us, and then the next day, both of us were unable to function very well. Me with an extreme dizzy attack that came out of nowhere that lasted for most of the day. I think by about 3:30 in the afternoon, I thought I was okay, but I wasn't confident. And the other was just extremely out of sorts, I guess would be a way to put it. You weren't able to meditate or anything. Hey, Mary. Nice to see you again. How have you been? Chill Baby says hello. Hi, Chill Baby. Ian says, please feel free to chime in on magical subjects, ask questions, etc. Please.
I guess I don't feel like talking much today.
Mary Wick says, you too. I'm absolutely marvelous. Thank you. I'm glad that you're marvelous. We're definitely feeling better today than we did a few days ago. So, you know, that's just the way energy goes. It goes up, it goes down, it comes and it goes. Kenny says, hi there, Siofra and Ian, or hail.
Jonathan.
Oh, Jonathan says, nice to be back. Glad you are feeling better. Sounds like that visit did a number on you guys. Well, yeah, it did kind of. Blew our energy centers like to hell and back, I'd say. Yeah, it's very interesting to visit with someone you haven't seen in a long time who hasn't been there for all the changes that you've gone through, and it's really bizarre. Violet says, hi guys. Hi Violet. Lava Moonchild says, lots of wonderful colorful hearts. I like that. Looks like all the chakras. Mary Wick says, it's pouring rain here. Perfect for listening to your wise words. Awesome. I hope that's a good rain, not an unwelcome one. And Ruth says, hi all, and how are you, Siofra? Doing better. Jonathan says, hi to Violet. Violet says, oh God, what did I miss? Who visited? Oh, it was just a friend, my husband's friend from before he and I got together, actually.
Yeah, it's just the expectations of the energy, and then when he got over here, his energy was definitely changed.
That's how the best description of his energy. It's kind of all over the place. He's very excited. So Kenny says, it's high, but I put an A in it. Okay. Well, hi. Violet says, hi, Jonathan. Yep. So it's been an interesting kind of time, just sort of reviewing stuff in our heads. Just, you know, processing the shift that happened to us when he was here. And then yesterday, I went to the Rock and Gem show with my granddaughter, and I had a wonderful time right up until the end. Apparently, I stayed 5 minutes too long, and all of a sudden, my back hurt like crazy. I started sweating, and I thought I was going to throw up, so I had to get out of there fast. And I'm like, wow, that was uncomfortable. So I don't know if I was in the wrong section or something, or if it was just a matter of not having my back brace on. I don't know. It's just, it's weird. Athusa says, hello, Siofra, Ian, and all. Happy to catch a live show instead of catch up. Hi, Athusa. I haven't missed anything. Okay, just checking. Because I sometimes miss stuff. Yes. It's always nice to have it live. We appreciate you guys when you come to visit us.
So someone's asking about balance. What kind of balance do you think? I mean, the problem is there's so many things that could be, could relate to balance.
It was your video about silence.
Okay.
And so I think magical balance was probably maybe elemental balance.
Okay. I should go through that because I think a lot of people don't know what elemental balance can do for you.
Yeah. And being balanced in the elements is definitely a better place to be.
Yeah, well, most people think of the elephants.
Those are very earthy.
Elephant is related to the Muladhara, the root chakra, so the earth element. Sorry, for what that's worth. Because of their strength, but yes.
So Jonathan says, like I said a while ago, my next big magic is a servitor. I'm going to do one for bringing my attention to unseen beings in my vicinity. Thinking all elements, but maybe air elemental is best. Ideas?
Well, I just have a little bit of feedback on that. Earth elementals don't communicate so well. Air elementals are best at communicating because of the connection to Mercury and that, and speech and everything. So, yeah, if you want to communicate with it, make an air elemental. I had troubles communicating with Earth one. It just didn't communicate in that fashion. It was like the earth element. So it was like slow and ponderous kind of, and which the earth element is also, strong, has a lot of good qualities.
Good for protection.
Yeah.
Little Spiderweb says, hi.
Right.
Violet says, oh my God, you guys crack me up over here without even trying. Elephantals.
Well, yeah. For what it was worth, the earth elemental that I was talking about happened to be an elephant.
Yes,
by the way.
That's why I said elephants are earthy.
Yep.
They're the only animal in the world that cannot jump.
Yep. Elephantal.
They are so grounded, they can't jump. Canary says, hello everyone. Hi, Canary. Lava Moonchild says, wow, without knowing that consciously, I recently created a talisman with the intention of grounding. Earth Mother and I have a jade elephant and a 7-petal lotus elephant along with another crystal. Cool. Synchronicity. I like that. So my fairy wand decided it wanted to come out and play today. I never know for sure when these things are going to do their thing. I did have a new kind of fae come to visit me a few nights back. I forgot to tell you about. He had dark curly hair. So he wasn't one of the white-haired ones I'm used to seeing. He was very lovely looking. Nice features kind of thing. It was interesting. But that was about it. He wanted to look at me very, very closely, and he got way close to my face, and I said, that's rude. Back up. Give me a little bit of room here. Canary says, I want one. Yeah, this is you wood. I was thinking about this wand the other day. I was making a wand for somebody, and we were just talking about wands. And so.
It has a unique quality, is the way it lives and grows and regrows through itself.
And the fact that it used to be the most all trees on the planet Earth at one point were yew trees. 80% of them, I think is what it said. So yeah, they're a very powerful tree.
Just don't want to eat the berries.
So Jonathan says, are all your servitors necessarily elementals? The book I read on servitors didn't specifically mention benefits of creating single element servitors. Cool on the new Fae. Thank you.
Well,
this could be a language thing and how we define words.
No, they're not necessarily elementals, but if you don't give attention to the elements when you make it, you're going to have a servitor that's lacking aspects, lacking balance. if you don't connect through the elemental aspects, you're also a lot less likely to get an actual result out of it. I mean, that's, you can make them without the elements at all, of course, and there are some ways of doing that, including some sex magic and some other magical ways, but in my opinion, if you want it to be effective, sheer effectiveness, I'd go for using the elements, because the materializing and condensing down what you're trying to do. Air element would be like it having the knowledge and ability to see what needs to be done, to observe. The earth element would be able to condense down any results. The fire element would be like the willpower it would use to go out and get something done. And the water element, of course, has the quality of restricting the fiery element and balancing it out. That would tend to add, if you wanted it to have any emotions, any sense of feeling, like you might make your elemental be loyal to you, that would come under the water element. So I mean, there's so many advantages to doing it with them, but you certainly don't need to. And like I say, probably one of the most common ones is the sex magic type of stuff. And that's a whole other process, which I'm not going to go into, but yeah, it's certainly one of the most effective ways. There are some things, not the Santerias, but the Palos, they have a thing where they make a Nganga, and it's filled with different sticks and pieces of wood and stuff. And it's basically a servitor like that. They send it out to do things for them, and it doesn't focus on the elemental aspects, but I think there's a lot of blood and stuff in it, which I'm not comfortable with. But there are, yes, definitely multiple ways of doing it. Sorry to take so long on that one issue there. Question.
Well, that's a good question. Kenny says, I started making an air wand, but I put a hematite gem at the bottom for grounding. It's pretty funny. Well, then it's not quite an air wand. What you need is to have a piece of hematite in your own pocket. I mean, the elemental wands I've made so far are single element wands. They only work with the element I made them for, and they won't cast a circle or anything like that. I have like an acacia wand, a water wand, an air wand, and I'm about ready to start working on the fire wand.
And I have a willpower wand, which is for general purpose use, because the idea is that it's going to assist whatever you're trying to do, and that by storing my stored willpower in it, that applies to whatever I'm trying to do. So it's like I have this giant store of willpower to apply towards it, and so that's my method of using it as a universal wand.
Well, interesting to see what kind of results you have with an air wand by putting on a grounding crystal or stone. So get back to us and let us know, because it could be one of those things that'll work better for you, because you'll feel more grounded when you're getting in touch with air. So it's not like there's a wrong way, just my own personal experience. And I wanted to like make it a pure elemental wand instead of I have all the planetary wands now, so I've got all of them, all 7 of the known planets for the days of the week.
I might make elemental wands eventually. It's somewhere on my radar down the road.
Hey, there's always stuff to learn. Aaron Jones says, hello, sorry I'm late. Well, you're not too late. We still have lots of show left.
Yeah, we're just getting into it.
We're just starting to get into some subjects, so. It's getting warm in here. Maybe we should, oh, you already opened up the windows.
I already opened up the windows, yes.
It's just a warm day.
I can open up further.
That's okay. I have something on my lap. What is that? It's like a little, it's almost like a cat whisker, except I know it can't be. I'll put that over there until I figure out what that was. But anyway, yeah. It certainly has been interesting and fun. Lava Moon says, your relationship to a star seeds. What about it? I have no idea. B says, hello all. Hi, B.
Hi, B.
Nice for you to join us. I have so many past life memories, I'm not sure. I'm trying to focus on this planet. I was reading up about the Lion's Gate, and I thought it was interesting that it basically has to do with the dog star Sirius rising above the horizon as seen from Egypt, that signals the Nile flooding in order to bring the nutrients and moisture and so forth that they need to be able to grow food, which is how it got associated with fertility and abundance. But I'm not sure how universal that is if you're not in Egypt. I mean, I don't know how these things get to become like a world thing from one culture or not, but it's kind of interesting. Jonathan says, thank you for a full answer on elemental servitors. Your fairy wand is pretty. Kenny, I read today in Cunningham that hematite is Saturnian. Sounds like an awesome addition to an air wand. What would?
But yes, I agree with Cunningham on that one, that it is Saturnian in general.
Yeah. Canary says, I feel like I've lost touch with the other realms. Oh, for heaven's sakes. I'm getting a notification about weather somewhere else. Something I didn't think would ever happen to me. I haven't been practicing things which I should be. Even my Reiki energy has felt hard to tap into. And I'm not having any experience for a while. Any advice to kickstart that magical energy back up again? Sorry for the really long questions, but I'm not good at condensing.
That's
no,
fine.
that is a great question.
We'd rather have an honest question than one
and a full
compressed.
one.
Yeah.
Right. It makes it easier to figure out what you're actually asking. I have found this has happened to me in my life periodically, and I think of it like a personal winter, perhaps. The idea that sometimes you have to go inward and kind of dampen everything down because there's something that you're needing to learn or incorporate into your energy field before then you're ready to go back out and have all things experienced. And it's like, you don't want to be like awake all the time, right? You want to have a waking life and a dream life. So it's same with magic. If you're like on running full tilt all the time and you don't have any decompression, any opportunity to reassess and reevaluate and kind of sit with things, then you're missing something because it's going by too fast. So I would first try not to worry about it. It's quite normal. And I would go back to the basics. When that happens, that's what I do. And go back to just taking care of small things. You know, trying to be aware of your life in the moment while you're living it. Making mundane tasks more attention focused. So yeah, it's one of those things about everyone has everything comes in cycles. Our planet has seasons.
Yeah.
It goes through a cycle of day and night. And it's like everything has its reason for being there. So
My best advice personally would try to be out in nature and quiet it down and see if you can just let the everyday stuff just drop off you and be with nature. I think is probably one of the best things you could do to
being out with the trees and
in general.
General, it's always a good way to reconnect with that force. Or laying down on the ground and watching the clouds for a day. Just take some time to be with yourself and not to worry about it. You don't have to be always goal oriented. It's existence, being in the moment. That is the thing that leads you back to where you need to be. So B says, if at all possible, can you do a short discussion on guardian spirits? So guardian spirits, people have different types. I mean, land guardians are like their own category, and they exist, I think, all around the planet. It's like, I don't know exactly how they come to be, but I think they were there before people came. That they were just like an embodiment of the energy and so forth of the land. And it's like they're the caretakers, so they take care of that part of the earth. And in older cultures, like tribal cultures and so forth, people recognize them for being that, and then just sort of acknowledge them and did their best to take care of the land that they had that they were in charge of, and become a part of the process instead of trying to like impose their will upon it. So land guardians are generally fairly friendly, but they can be antagonistic if they feel you should know that they're there and you don't recognize them, or if some really bad thing is happening to the land that they're a part of, it can change their nature.
But there are also personal guardians too, which
Exactly.
cover a bunch of different types. They can be spiritual and communicative, like a being, or they can be communicative, like Coyote is to me, where I can't really talk to him, but he comes up and tells me things occasionally. He's more of a totem animal than a spirit guardian, but he is an aspect of the guardian spirit. So it gets complicated. There's a lot of them.
Right, and then there's like ancestral spirits that come to assist their, progeny from into the future. There's guardian angels that hang around. I have 2 of them that I've had with me since I was little, and they couldn't stop the horrible things that happened to me when I was a child, but they tried to comfort me, and they would sleep with me at night and try and give me a sense of safety and so forth. And then there's, your personal guardian or higher spirit or oversoul or whatever you want to call it, can be that kind of a thing as well.
Yeah, it's not that. It's depending on whether you look at it as guardian spirit or oversoul. I think they're 2 different things, though a lot of people consider them the same thing. But I think the oversoul is less like a verbal communication. Your guardian spirit would be more like a verbal communication, like somebody you could talk to, and your oversoul would be more in the order of feelings or intuitions or things without.
Or a repository of past life memories,
or
and
without it being like you're talking to somebody. It comes down into you and you know it, but it's not like talking to a being. So I personally believe there is that difference, that there are guardian beings and then there's the oversoul, which is something else.
And then there's spirit guardians that you can adapt or adopt or create. Like I have a bear and a black panther that are spirit animals that are with me, and they will come and defend me, protect me, give me messages by how they act. I can tell what's going on around me. Like if I a number of years ago now, I went to bed one night and my panther was pacing and growling, and the bear was doing the same, and so I knew something was up. Some kind of hazard was heading in my direction, and they were trying to warn me about it. So like everything else, words are inadequate to really define these things. It's the experience that's going to make the impact when it comes to it, and everyone is different. Just like everyone has different food sensitivities or health issues that they have to deal with, everyone probably has a different way of encountering or communicating with whatever guardians happen to be around. So I guess that's about all we can say on that right now. So Eve says, "Oh, I'm so glad that I caught the live. Yay, we're glad too." He says, "Hi, Eve." And Eve says, "Even if I don't say much, I'm here with you." Well, that's good. Jonathan says, "Canary, we all go through cycles." He says, "I find that mental blocks cause that for me." Ian says, "Blessed be it, Eve Wolf, welcome." Merry meet, Eve says to Ian. Canary says, "Thanks for the idea that I might need to be more present, rings true." Eve says, "I find one of the hardest things to do, it's wearing these children."
Rearing. It says wearing. It means rearing.
Rearing, she means, okay. I'm like, well, you are kind of wearing them. Because I know what that's like, yes. And taking care of myself and transmitting energies and the like, very trying, but I'm doing it. I know, I had 2 kids, and a lot of times I was looking for a teacher and they kept showing me my children. And I'm like, no, I want someone who can talk, and speak words.
Tell you things. That's
someone
right.
who can tell me things with their mouth.
Yes, sometimes you just need that.
Not someone who needs me to help them learn how to go to the bathroom. Audrey says, "Hi, Siofra, hope you're well." Yes, we're much better today, so it's been great. Chill Baby says, an opossum carcass was beside the train tracks where I run my dog for over a month. The spine had been separated intact. I have daily spine back issues. After a live possum crossed my path near the river, I'm skipping the B, where we also run, I went back to the carcass, sat with it for a while, said hi, did my thing, then collected the spine with a dog waste baggie. Any advice on how to clean, sanitize, and store it? I would look up on YouTube to find out the best way to clean bones, because there's like solutions you can put them in to soak or boil or whatever in order to be safe. And I'm not a taxidermist, so that was your pouch that flew off your chest, and it went that way, I think, somewhere on the floor. He took off his shirt and took that off at the same time. It went flying. Oh, here it is.
It's over here. Okay.
It came towards me. Yeah, so I would definitely, check into that and find out, because I have a cat that I've been thinking, our cat Charlie, of digging up, and I need to look that up as well. Of course, he's been in the ground now for about, 8 years, so he might be well decomposed. I haven't decided if I'm really going to do it or not, but I wanted to, if I was going to have cat bones, it had to be a cat I knew and had loved me, and I loved them, kind of thing. So B says, I think there is one who resides over the spring I live next to. Thank you, Siofra. I clean trash out of the creek to help. Yeah, sounds like a good idea. Awesome. Chantel says, greetings. Hi, Chantel. B says, I have that experience with a particular spirit who comes to me. I cannot speak easily with her, but she has taught me many magical techniques. She's been with me since I was a child. That's really cool, too. I agree with Canary. B says, I suspect she's been protecting my family for some time, but I'm not sure yet. I've only just began meditating on it. And B said, thank you, Canary. Jonathan says, hi, Chill Baby. In South Africa, we clean horns and bones and stuff by either leaving it in the sun or burying it in the ground. Cool that you are comfortable with new moon energy. Lava Moon's Child says, well, my guides were channeled to me and they sort of concluded with, if you shed this and just be, then you will know this, but it's not going to be that exciting, but still equally as beautiful. They said parallel universe and twins when I was trying to find out if I had an ET mission.
Let me,
And a memory of myself splitting, but definitely not in a negative way.
Let me mention one thing, which is kind of on and off the subject that Lava Moon Child just brought up. If you shed this and just be, if you could just do that, you would instantly become enlightened. If you can shed everything and just be and not have your thoughts interfering, you can see the truth of the universe. You'll see in a totally different way psychologically than anything you've experienced before. I've had brief flashes of that, certainly not at that stage, but there's a lot more to just being. If you can really succeed in doing it, try to see if you can succeed for 15 minutes would be my recommendation. If you're being, you're not thinking about your house, you're not thinking about homework, you're not thinking, you're not feeling so much except for the universe around you. And that's the other thing that it does. By shutting off all that stuff, you feel everything around you, you see it, you perceive it more completely without it having to be turned into thoughts and things that interfere with your perception. Sorry to go so deep on that one as far as the enlightenment thing goes, but that's a very important process and not easy to achieve necessarily.
So
Could be for some people.
Eve says, I have birds and cats, big cats and small cats. And she says hi to Chill Baby. Chill Baby says that Jonathan, so you think it's safe to handle it with my hands, brush it off and set it somewhere? I did endure a lot of repeated rain and drying. It did. I thought it might be okay, but wasn't sure. And then at Jonathan, I was born on the sliver of the crescent waxing moon. I love a new moon.
Huh.
Eve Wolf says, whenever I find bones that call to me while I'm out walking in nature, I like to put them in my garden and let the ants, clean up all the remains. So Jonathan says that chill baby depends on what you are comfortable with. Here we leave that type of thing for months, not weeks. If there is no smell and seems clean, then it's usually the deciding factor. Eve Wolf says, when I said big cats and small, I was referring to spirit power animals, just to clarify. Yes. Eve says, I know the live chat is delayed. Sorry about that. Yeah, well, it's a live chat. That's the way it works. Jill Baby says that Jonathan, I see. I'll Google it too. Thanks, Jonathan and Siofra. You're welcome. Want everyone to stay safe. Michael says, hello, everyone. Hope you are all doing well. Huge magical hugs. I was hoping you could give me some advice on methods to not piss off anything or anyone when you're reorganizing your backyard.
Sounds like a good question.
And I am more than willing to provide a special spot for the Fae. I'm thinking the best way is to go out there in the backyard and state my intentions and open myself for directions. Your thoughts? Well, that sounds like a very good way of doing it.
I agree.
And a lot of times the Fae will pick their own spot. What I would recommend would be walking around in your backyard and just get a sense of where they might already be. And if they are already there, then turn that into their spot. So then, it's like...
Yeah, and be respectful to all things. I mean...
Stating your intention before you do it is a good idea. I had to trim our rhododendron. I think I gave it about 6 months warning before I went and trimmed it. So, it's like they know it's coming and it needs to be done and so forth. And so they can be prepared for what you're about to do.
Yeah, but generally, if you're not generally rude and disrespectful, then you generally won't accidentally piss them off or something like that.
If you're trying to make your backyard more accessible, more beautiful,
if it's going to be something like
utilitarian.
Yeah, or if it's going to be something like cutting down a tree or something major, then you might have to deal with that in some fashion or other. But other than something like that, they're not so easy, and they mostly appreciate that someone's aware that they're there in general.
Yeah.
Just for nature spirits.
And because change happens all the time without their permission. Like a storm, a tornado, a big wind coming up, a bunch of rain coming down. I mean, they deal with the unexpected all the time because that's just the way nature is. So getting some warning is actually a nice change for them.
Of course, since they're not corporeal, I doubt that rain would bother them, but...
Well, not the spirits, but their place that they're taking care of. It can...
Well, that's true.
I'm talking about...
Yeah,
they're in charge of all that, and they have to deal with the fact that the spot changes. And he's going to be changing... That's a close airplane. We don't usually get them that low. I'm going to wait for this airplane to go over. Hopefully not hit our house. What the hell?
Well...
Is that a helicopter?
No, we just usually don't have the windows open.
Yeah.
To hear them that well.
They're usually on that side.
But yeah, that was
a little closer than usual. Anyway, so there you go. Eve Wolf, says, the bones I come across speak to me so deep. They are mostly deer. I have a lot of deer bones. And usually they've been out for so long, there's nothing wrong with picking them up. And antlers are nice that way because they're giving them away every year. They regrow them. Lava Moon Child says, thank you. That's really reassuring to keep that with me, that in the just being, it's all there. This is just one shedding. There's a lot to shed. This one feels maybe more like an initiation. Good for you. Canary says, do the power plants and chemicals and stuff in the Earth's atmosphere make it hard for nature spirits to be here? I don't think so. I don't think it affects them that way like it would us, for example. But I don't know. I mean, if the plants that they're helping are dying, then they're probably not doing well. If it's that kind of spirit, if it's like the plant spirit type of thing.
Yeah, well, you can basically look at it like there's a spirit associated with everything in existence, more or less. And so there are some spirits that are going to be bothered by it just because they bother their domain. If pollution kills off a lot of fish, the undines might get upset, something like that. So they can be affected indirectly, but not directly as such. My opinion, anyway.
So B says the spirits do indeed have a bit of a panic with violent storms. We had a huge flood here and they went silent for quite some time. Busy. Yeah, doing their job. Michael says, thank you both for your response. I truly appreciate it. That's good to know. My main concern is pissing them off. You're both such a treasure. Much love and respect. Laugh out loud. Darn airplanes. Oh, hey, when we get too far afield before I forget, we have sold our first poster of Ian's painting that he did of the local park. And she got back to us and said that the company that we picked to print them up did an exceptionally good job. And she's very, very happy with the quality and the visual effects and stuff of it. So if you want to help support us, you can buy one of Ian's posters of that wonderful painting that he did, or one of our new t-shirts that we also have made, which have the rose that he painted for me, which was really the first
real painting I ever did.
Yeah, the first real painting he ever did. And under it, love is everything. And then Siofra's Magic Alcove. So she also says that those were excellent and very soft, and she liked them very much. Cool. So we were worried, of course, because we're like that. And so it was good to get actual positive, direct feedback from somebody. So you can go to my Etsy store, or our Etsy store at Siofra's Magic Alcove, and have some fun. So Eve Wolf says, it's true in regards to the Fae. There is a circle of branches, and I just know that is something. Luna says, hey all, how are you feeling now, Siofra? Way better. Definitely not dizzy for the last few days. Eve Wolf says, Siofra, I do love your hair. Well, thank you. I didn't do anything with it but brush it today. So Eve says, hi there, Luna. B says, so happy for you both. Jonathan says, best directions on collecting wood I have ever seen come from the Alcove. I started giving warning, gifting water, and gifting amethyst chips. Feels much more right. I don't ask permission, though.
Yeah, it's a personal thing.
Well, I mean, you're letting them know what you're going to be doing, and that's sort of, in a sense, letting them know.
Right.
Luna says, hey, Eve Wolf. Eve says, star, choo.
Hey, that's cool.
Yeah, I kind of like that. Isn't this wonderful? Michael says, oh, one more question for you now. What time is best to contact the Fae? Dusk or dawn, right? Yep. Dusk or dawn is the best time, because that's when things are in flux. And the dim light of dawn and early evening makes it the easiest to see them. And for me, my brain changes. Like when the sun goes down, my third eye starts to open up more, and I start to see things flying around in my house and dancing on my walls and, things like that.
Have to go get a better chair.
Which I try not to tell my doctor about. Because I'm not sure what she would think. But yeah, I think that's definitely the right time. Luna says that Jonathan, hey baby, I made it. Yay, Luna. He says, dusk and dawn are good times. One can also use other moments of flux, such as the beginning of a storm. And when you get really in touch, it doesn't matter. I mean, then once you've learned how to open yourself up and start to perceive them, then you can sit quiet in broad daylight and soften your eyes and gaze and let them come forward, which I've done a fair amount. And it's interesting. I like doing it during the day because then it's less startling when I see them, because the sun is out. We feel safer when the sun is out. So yeah, moonlight's also another good time for seeing them when there's a full moon. I think that kind of adds that sort of perception energy to what's happening, the reflected light that the moon has. Yeah, it just opens up a lot of different potential doors. Michael says, gotcha. I don't tell my doc either. Yeah, well, last time I saw my doctor, I accidentally told her about my near-death experience, and she was making notes. And I'm not sure what kind of notes she might have been making about me when I told her that. Like, maybe one of these days I'll see what her notes are. But yeah, when they give me the questionnaire, are you hallucinating? I always say no, because a hallucination is something that's not real. And what I see is real, and I know it, so therefore it's not a hallucination, right? B says, oh yeah, I had my first successful mirror gazing last night. Thank you for your videos. If I hadn't known what would happen, I would have been totally freaked out. Awesome. I'm so glad we could give you the warning about how that happens in the beginning. Michael says, I will definitely try that more than once. Moonlight, check. Gotcha. Thank you with a heart full of gratitude. Laugh out loud. You're welcome. That's why we're here, is to try and assist when we can.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful that we can share our experiences and our knowledge with groups of people that we may never actually meet in person. It's just an amazing thing about the times we live in.
That's true.
In the old days, you'd have to sit on my doorstep for 2 years before I would let you in. Is that how it works? Something like that?
Well, I think some of them still do that.
Yeah, to prove your
generally
seriousness.
Not in the U.S., but yeah, I think there's still
in
a few
India
of them out there.
and other places. Yeah.
Most of them aren't as harsh as they used to be, though.
And Canary says, I have hesitated when asked if I ever hallucinated, and then say an unsure no. Well, be confident. Don't let them get their hooks into you. Kenny says, do you ever feel a bit detached if you're not wearing crystal jewelry? Not really. At this point, I'm not sure what you mean by detached. Detached from my body, detached from my life, detached from my energy. I'm always myself. When I wear crystal jewelry, I'm usually doing that to keep other people's energy out of mine. So I'm always with mine. And like when I went into like the Rock and Gem show, or when we went to the farmer's market, I was wearing all of my jewelry as a shield, protect my own energy from intrusion from other people, and sort of keep myself stable when it comes to that. So I think that's an answer. Jonathan says, I'm not sure, but is that what witches mean when they talk about hedge riding, deliberately going to liminal settings like dusk, dawn, the beach, or the edge of a forest? Maybe. I don't know, since I'm not a hedge witch, but that sounds like it makes sense, because doorways, mirrors, things that reflect, anything that shifts from one state to another when you're going from one place to another is a place where worlds can potentially meet and you can have an encounter.
So yeah, it sounds reasonable, but I haven't run across the term myself.
So B says, I think it means the area between realms, but I'm not sure. Kenny says, energy. Yes, I definitely like having my crystals so that I can keep in charge of my energy, but I've been practicing not wearing them and not needing to have them. So Joe Baby says, mirror gazing freaks me out. Things would shift for me so quickly when I was a kid looking in the mirror. Maybe that means I need to try that again, actually. Well,
yes, but keep it at a slow level so it doesn't freak you out. Don't let yourself get freaked out. If it starts freaking you out, just stop.
And do it in small doses.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
Don't do a marathon kind of thing and decide you're going to do it for an hour no matter what.
Yeah.
And it's like, but it's like an unknown, and we have a tendency to be afraid of things that we don't understand or haven't experienced yet. And anytime we're experiencing something new, there is a fear factor there, because it's just, it's a natural instinctive reaction to things that are unknown from a basic, I guess, lizard brain perspective. Yeah. So Jonathan says, thanks, B. Eve says, sorry about that, my phone had died. It's good now. Oh man, hedge witch stuff. Aaron Jones says, yes, I like to do it when I'm sitting on my deck, I'm thinking. Or dock. Maybe it is a dock.
It is a dock.
Yeah, maybe you have a lake and you're sitting on a dock. Gazing over the water is really, I like that too. I really find it easy to see shimmering energy coming off the water.
Oh yeah, water helps a lot for clairvoyance.
Yeah, whether it's the lake or the ocean, it's like there's definitely
Water and
energetic
moonlight.
stuff.
Two best things you can do for it, water and moonlight.
Moonfire Dawn says, I had witchy tendencies since childhood and also have bipolar. Learned that magical thinking is considered a symptom of schizoid at the time. Don't admit to seeing ghosts either, not to a shrink. Yeah. Well, and that's true. It's like, but just because it's a symptom of that doesn't mean that's what's happening. Because, I was actually reading an article not long ago about the medical establishment looking at people like us who have these experiences on a regular basis and yet are fully integrated into our lives and are not like running around chasing the thing that we're seeing into the street and getting run over by a car. So there's a huge difference in functionality and sensibility and so forth when you know what's going on. And they've realized that we know something that they don't, and we might be able to assist in figuring out how to help people that don't have a handle on their hallucinations. So Eve Wolf says riding the hedge means living in between the worlds. River, but it flows into a lake. Okay, that's the dock. He says, that's what I suspected. Thank you, Eve, for clarification. B says, that sounds lovely, Aaron. Eve says, and if you are welcome, you can flow freely throughout. Shay says, hi, dear ones. Late, but here for a minute. Hi, Shay. I'm so glad you let me know you were going to be here, but late. Jonathan says, why are you practicing living without crystals? I'm asking because I have talismans, like a good luck talisman. When I don't have it on me, luck sucks. I'm concerned about crutches becoming dependency. Well, okay, so here's the thing. Years back, this was in like 1970 or so, 71, somewhere in there. I was in Toronto, and I was at a street corner, like Main Street corner, waiting to cross the street. And all of a sudden, I became aware that everyone was looking at me. We're talking, the drivers were all looking at me. The people walking up and down the street were all looking at me. The people sitting in the restaurants were looking out the window and looking at me. And I didn't like it. It made me uncomfortable. And so I don't know how I did it, but I put like an invisibility thing around me to make them stop looking at me. And when I did that, everyone looked away at the same time. And so this is part of a process I've been going through for the last 10 years or so, slowly taking down that invisibility thing that I put up and learning how to be okay being seen. And so the crystals help me hide a little bit while I'm being seen. And I'm practicing just being without them and just to see what happens. It's sort of a test that I do.
That's always a good recommendation. And Barton specifically mentions to warn about becoming reliant on something like that. Make sure you can still function without it.
Yeah.
He doesn't recommend using something for a long time if it's going to make you reliant on it.
And, if you're having bad luck when you don't wear your good luck talisman, maybe it's a good idea to like think about the energy of the talisman and have the energy of it with you, even if you don't have the talisman with you, because between the worlds you're connected. So you don't have to have things physically on you in order to use them. I've done that in the astral and mental planes on occasion. There's items that I used to own that I lost that I can now use when I'm in the astral or mental plane if I need it. I have this scarab bracelet that my Uncle Jim gave me when I was pretty young. And I've lost it many, many years ago. And one time when we were at the lighthouse on my birthday, and the ghosts all came to visit, and there was a little girl ghost who was really upset. And I gave her one of my scarabs from that side and let her have it to keep to protect her. So it's like we need to think outside of that box of just physical, because it isn't just physical. The physical is an aid and it helps, and certainly crystals are wonderful and I love them very much. So that would be my take on that. Canary says, I heard a shrink say abnormal is when it interferes with daily living. If it doesn't, you are probably all good. I think that's exactly right. So Eve said, hi, Shay. Ian says, hi, Shay. Vanessa says, hello, also late. Hi, Vanessa V. How you doing? He says, I can relate. As a trauma survivor, it can feel comfortable and safe to be hidden from others' energy, but it's all about balance. That's what I'm learning now. It's not easy, but definitely worth it. Yeah, it's true. Eve says, I do concur with Siofra. Canary says, I think it's about time I made myself a good luck talisman. Now that people mentioned it, question eyeballs looking like, thinking about this. Yay.
Well, I've got a talisman in the works for Jupiter talisman for prosperity, but I've got to shoot the video on that, and I might be slow at getting it out, but I am working towards that. It'd be nice to have a video within like a week or something and have it up, but I don't know. I'll try though.
So Luna says, Siofra, have you watched the Netflix series Surviving Death? Just curious as to your opinion of the mediums in episodes 2 and 3. It's been so long since I watched it, I don't remember the specifics of the episodes. I'd have to rewatch it again to let you know what my opinion was. I can't remember. Eve Wolf says, I have found that the energy of the stone or crystal has the power to embed within oneself. Yeah, that's one way of putting it. Definitely. He says, excited for the video, Ian. Jonathan says, very nice answer on talismans, crystals, etc. Thank you. I missed you guys. Well, we miss you too. We're just so glad that you're feeling better. And, you know, all of us go through stuff. That's kind of the way life is.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yay that you're back. And we're here. Yay. Now we're waiting for more questions. That was pretty good, though. It was a good run. I like it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I can work on that. I got my video coming up, so just got to get it done. And
Violet says, I come to absorb mostly. I do not practice magic much right now for what I endured the last 8 years. I question many of the things that happened at Tiny Town. Did I accidentally piss off an entity? Well, I don't know if you did or not. He says, any new experiences with the she? Well, that was a couple weeks ago. I had the big visitation, and then this week I had a different type of fae come to visit me. So, yeah, not yet, not anything I can recall. Violet says I did 3 invocations and met Medusa through one. Vanessa V says doing well, thanks. Just got back from a family reunion, and you guys? Yeah, we had a bit of a reunion with a friend that kind of threw both of us for a loop for a day, but we recovered. So yay, we're doing all right.
Yep.
Violet says, anyway, just chatting. Yep.
I'm curious if you think there might be some reason that you might have made an entity mad or something. You said what you've gone through for the last 8 years. Don't want to get too personal.
He says, that sounds interesting, Violet. 3 invocations. Luna says, I know what I thought about the mediums in the Netflix show. I didn't go a lot on them. They talk a lot about physical manifestation occurring during seances. Is this a real thing? Oh, I remember. And I figured pretty much since she would die if the light turned on that she couldn't be real. Because that makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
And that that's a sign that something is not quite right. If it can't be done during, the day. I have had physical manifestations happen during a channeling session where someone's key in their pocket bent and they couldn't get in there, they couldn't use it for their car. And another woman was sitting on a chair, like a normal wooden chair that had been that way for many years. It wasn't like new or anything. And the fibers on her sweater melted into the varnish of the chair, and she had to tear herself off the chair. So energy can definitely cause physical manifestations of things when there's enough energy in a room. I never have felt comfortable with the idea of ectoplasm and so forth.
Yeah,
it just seems...
It's always seemed, like bull to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He says, but scary. Canary says, most mediums on Netflix show can't be real as they don't really seem to know what they're talking about. Violet says, back-to-back crises without end, wildfires, ice storms, thieves, dog poop. So many things happened. I invoked Mars because it is my planet. Then I did Keys of Ocat, Anubis by S. Connolly. Well, wildfires and ice storms have got nothing to do with you personally. That's a global effect.
Like getting caught in the wrong place at the wrong time.
She's talking
though.
about the fires that happened up around Portland in the north and stuff like that, and the ice storm that hit Portland. Weather and wildfires and things are not personal, neither are earthquakes or volcanic eruptions. These are global events, and they have to do with the Earth's energy, not with us individually, and we cannot make them happen or make them stop. It's like it's a much larger force that's at work and at play there. I was very offended when I was in an earthquake because I've only ever been nice to the earth, and that sort of made that come home and realize that it's not personal. So you have to separate out the things that are personal from the things that aren't personal. And we have a tendency to take everything that happened in a period of time and try to connect the dots, even if they don't actually connect, because that's the way our brains work. We have that kind of associative brain ability, and that's where we can get bogged down, where we think like, okay, there was a tornado in my town and it must be because I was bad. I used to think all bad weather was my fault when I was a kid, and everything was my fault. And so it's a good idea to separate out those things. That's my opinion at any rate. He says, it can be. I had a scary experience with one years ago when I was young. A candle we used for one turned from white to black. It was extremely scary. I don't mess with those things anymore. Well, that was during a seance / event kind of thing. That'd be interesting. Well, I have that magic feather that the raven gave me that was a white feather when it fell and turned black when it landed. That was pretty awesome. Something like that happened to me, I'd be going like, great, this is fantastic. It all depends on how you look at it. So Jonathan says, I've got a tiny turquoise tumblestone in my good luck talisman so that I will never fall off a horse and my arrow will always strike its mark. Come on, that's a really nice thing to have. Well, yeah, it is a nice thing to have.
It generally sounds like a good luck talisman, so yeah.
Luna says, yes, positive. No cameras in the room and it had to be pitch black. Yeah, that made me suspicious right off the get-go. It's like, what the heck's going on in that room? Nobody knows except who's doing it. And you've seen magicians do stuff before your eyes that look completely and totally astonishing. And if you don't know how they did the trick, it's like magic. We're interested in real magic, not in magic tricks.
Yeah.
So if I can't see it happening, it's a magic trick. Violet says, I think that is underworld, but looked at it like it was a Scorpio thing. Eve says, I was curious as to how one might apply and incorporate the magic that you conjure forth without interference from the 3DBs?
Third BS.
I'm not sure what the 3DBS is. B says, exactly. Eve says, I don't know about all that, B. It sounds like no. Well, that was with the scary candle. Luna says, these guys were talking about solid articles appearing, including hands, which the sitters could touch. Yeah. We know someone who can make a hand that looks completely lifelike and patented his technique. And he's even got pores and everything in it. And it's not magic. It's art.
Yeah, he once did Muhammad Ali. His little action figure or something.
Neri says, we can create our own bad luck if we keep believing we have it. Jonathan says, true,
and that's absolutely
Canary.
True. Absolutely. Believe you have good luck.
That's right. He says, yeah, I was 13. XD, past mistakes happen. Violet says, I hear you about not personal, but I was reading about how some people can attack and make a tree fall and all kinds of horrible things. It happened right as I was reading it almost, so I got weirded out. I bet that would do it. But then again, you're reading about it, so who knows how valid the information actually was. And that could be a special circumstance.
I don't know.
I mean, rolling thunder supposedly could bring a storm and thunder whenever he wanted to. And so it's not like out of the realm of possibility. But most of the people in Portland are not that powerful.
Yeah, though, depending, I understand. Now, I might be mistaken about this because I don't follow Palo because it's way off my path, but I understand that there are some individuals that do that to show their Naganga works when they get it, is they use it to kill a tree, or can use it to kill a tree.
I think that's the only way they can prove that it's effective.
Yeah,
That's
but
sort of
I
one of
don't,
the initiation things.
like I say, I don't know much about it. I don't have any desire to go further into it.
And Violet says, then the demon sound on the phone was a close thing to follow. It just went on. Yeah, but try and separate things out instead of putting them back together. So Sable says, well, gosh, I'm late, but glad to be here. Hi, Siofra and Ian. Hi, Sable. Eve says, word,
Glad to have
real
you back.
magic. Yeah. Well, you know, it is a thing. Luna says, just back from my vacation. Go to the same place every year. Each time I drive past a certain place, I get a strong sense of foreboding. I asked my daughter if she felt anything, and she concurred. Well, you could be feeling a spirit energy that's there for sure. I'm going to skip ahead to this. About 5 years ago, a housing estate was built on this site. Prior to the houses going up, I didn't get the hostile feeling from this area. Could this be an angry land guardian? Could be something they brought into the house.
Well, you missed like.
I did that on purpose. That's why I said that. I was trying to stay with the same thought.
Okay.
So it could be that they brought something into the house, or they could have pissed off a land guardian. It's a possibility. But we had that experience with that wax figure in that
Right.
museum that had an entity in it. And
Right.
when they moved the wax figure somewhere else, the energy was gone. When they moved it back, or it was caught back or something, I'm not sure how it happened, then it was back and I could feel it from miles away. So yeah, we can sense that kind of stuff. We don't always find out exactly what it is that we're sensing, though. So Canary says, do you think any magician tricks that seem outlandish could actually be a form of high magic? I doubt it, but it would be brilliant if it was.
Yes.
Well, didn't Barden do that?
Yes, Barden did. In fact, there's lots of published information. You can find pictures of him in his outfit. He wore like a Swami's outfit a bunch of times. He did real magic on stage, and his book Frabato talks about it a bit. And then in some of the other books that were published about him afterwards, there's a lot of good pictures and things. And there's a book that talks about his main student, Dr. M.K., and his son, and what they remember about Barden. And they mention a bit about his acts, and that's how his main student, Dr. M.K., got in touch with him, was through his physical acts on stage. But he did magic, hypnosis, astral travel, things like that. Well, basically all the stuff he details in his books. So, yes, he was one real magician who went out there and did stage magic.
But I think it's highly unlikely nowadays.
Yeah, he didn't use sleight of hand at all, though. But
So-
yeah, it's rare. We're talking very rare.
So Violet says, I had a storm ensue right after an evil witch warned me. I also invoked Morrigan once, and a hailstorm happened for 5 minutes right over my house and disappeared almost instantly. Weather is a thing. Well, hail does that. And I've been in a bunch of hailstorms that have done that. We had that thing that happened in front of our house where the wind was going absolutely crazy and hail was falling everywhere, and then all of a sudden it just stopped. Dead silence. And everything was stopped. But I didn't think that it had to do with me. It just happened to be the weather. So again,
sorry you've had so much.
yes. But if you can
happen.
disconnect some of those things, then it won't be as bad as what happens to you. If you're giving power to the evil witch to throw a bunch of hailstones at you, then you're giving away some of your own power. So you have to claim your power and keep it. Don't give it away. Luna says, about 5 years ago, oh, I did that one. Eve says, weather is a fantastic conduit for moving energies.
Yep.
Sophia Beth says, hello, your new decoration is beautiful. Thank you. This is our southern altar. We moved from the north to the south. So far, you've only seen 2 of the altars in our temple as like backdrops.
Yep, sooner or later we'll have to get the east and west altars up there.
Well, I think the west would work pretty good because it's high enough, but the east one is so low, I'm not sure anybody could see anything behind me.
And then it might be too much backlighting, so it might be
Yeah,
a problem
we'll
with that
see.
also.
But anyway. So Eve says, hi, Sable. B says, yeah, people who have bad intentions can sometimes produce a sense of foreboding. My old home had that. Jonathan says, Violet, please consider reading Dion Fortune's Psychic Self-Defense. Luna and I read it at the start of the year. It's good. It addresses much of what you are describing. And stop summoning demons, please. B says, I concur with Jonathan. Eve says,
thank you for filling that out a little bit for me, Violet.
Eve says, you are so from Jersey. Luna says, thank you, Siofra. I'm always so relieved when I drive clear of that area. Eve Wolf says, I love the way you just put it out. Thank you. He says, anywho, all, I had a lovely time, but I have to leave. Hope you all have a blessed rest of your day. Well, bye, B. Thank you for being here. We always appreciate your input. Violet says, why, thanks, Jonathan. It was not me summoning a demon on purpose. I guess Keys of Ocat is kind of a lower, but Anubis is part of Scorpio, but I'll check it out. Thanks. Well, Anubis and I get along really well, so it just depends upon your relationship. Luna says, yep, Violet, Psychic Self-Defense is an excellent read. I've gone back to it several times for certain things, and will probably reread it again at some point. Yes. Eve says, yes, claim your power. Violet, hug, says Jonathan. Alan says, I feel like I just can't seem to control everything that happens. I know. It's sad, isn't it? That we live in a world of 7.5 billion other wills that are trying to go in a different direction than us, and then the whole planet doesn't agree.
I know this is not what you're after at this point, but it makes me think harmony. Think harmony. Harmony with all things. And that'll help you avoid a lot of stuff. You know, I mean, even little things. Harmony, for instance, harmony with my paintbrushes as a thing. And of course, there are some spirits somewhere that has something to do with paintbrushes, so you get in harmony with them. So I'd recommend getting in harmony even with physical objects, if you can. It means you don't cuss at them, don't kick them. Be respectful like the old Japanese people used to do. If they'd slam a door, because they'd come back and open the door and apologize to it and close it carefully, that type of thing. So that's not really on the subject, but not too far away from.
Eve says, wow, your altars look fantastic. Anyhow, I can't wait to see what else you come up with. Thank you. Canary says, Anubis isn't a demon. This is true. Anubis is a god. I'm sure he isn't responsible for anything bad. He helps us to go into the underworld and guides us as we go after death, according to the Egyptians. Well, and certainly he did that for me with the dreams.
I like the 2 eyes with the mouth emoji, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cute. Moonfire says, Dion Fortune is great. I want to learn more about Barden. I have an easier time finding Dion Fortune books.
Yeah, she's gotten more press here because Barden started out in the Czech Republic.
And most of his first books were all in German, weren't they?
Yes, and they had to be translated. So what we have now are translations.
And since Dion Fortune was British, her books started off in English.
Yes.
So all of her books were in English first before they got translated. So.
Yeah, and she was more prolific. Barden published 3 books plus Frabato, and then got killed by the Gestapo.
So Eve says, Mary Part B. Luna says, if your East altar is too low for your videos, please would it be possible for you to post a picture of it on the community page? I, for one, would be very curious to see it. It's actually a picture on our community page. It's our background. So you go to our main page. That is our Eastern altar. There's 3 women on one side and Yeah.
It doesn't actually blur off into the distance like it does on that picture, but
Right.
yes.
But he used that altar picture for part of
Yeah.
our channel when we first started it. And Chantel says, moving into a house soon that has a practitioner that has very bad intentions. What are your recommendations to clear the home of her spells? Is she going to still be in the house with you? Would be question number one. And if she is still in the house with you, you're in trouble because there's going to be a battle back and forth. Because it sounds like you shouldn't be living with this person if they have very bad intentions. So let me know.
Yeah.
Eve says, yes, it is sad. Violet says, Harmony, that was great. Jill Baby says, I finally understood one day that I perform magic can access an ingrained energetic pathway from the physical to the spiritual if it has been performed multiple times by lots of people throughout time.
Well,
yes,
exactly.
Exactly.
I recommend going to old stuff that's been used a lot to access that built up energy.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can do something on your own, but if there's already a big reservoir of energy out there from people who have practiced this over years and years, I don't see why a person wouldn't want to tap into it unless there's something about that energy they don't like and they want it to be different. But making your own egregore, I guess you'd call it, to be very difficult and time consuming. Especially it's hard to get them as powerful as something that, like one of the statues of the saints that's been charged up by worshipers over the years or something like that.
They do absorb that. And then there's the streams of different kinds of magic that are out there that people have added to. And if you get connected to a stream, then you get you get a boost, sort of like your powers get on steroids kind of thing.
Right, you can, but that usually ends up with you having ties to that power or energy or group also that can be hard to get out of if you decide it was a mistake later. So I also recommend being very careful with anything like that.
And this is the reason why I decided not to take my Wiccan initiation. And then the answer that the high priestess had told me that it was definitely not a good idea.
At least from her, for sure. Yeah.
At least from her.
Yeah.
Because, she dismissed my concerns offhand and said, just do it and then you'll understand it. And I'm like, excuse me? I'm saying I want to make sure I do this for the right reasons if I'm going to do this. And then you don't think that matters? For me, personal ethics is the most important thing I have. I hold it dear to my heart. And it is my relationship with the universe and how me and the universe interact and speak to one another and communicate and everything. And to do anything that would damage that relationship would diminish me. The universe, I'm sure, would be fine. But I would not. So, yeah. Jonathan says, Canary, I guess it depends on the relationship. Kali can be your protector or your worst nightmare depending on the relationship you do or don't cultivate.
Yeah, that's a perfect example.
Chill Baby says, since the energy of the practitioner also determines the outcome of the interaction, then historical magical practices might be enhanced if performed by someone with the DNA of its original culture.
Well, I'm inclined to say maybe, but I don't think that DNA actually plays that much of a part in it. More what you've done in your past lives and things. But yes, the more you can, anything like that you want to get into touch with, the more you can do it the original way it was done, magical practices and things, the more you get in touch with that particular energy for sure.
Yeah, and with past lives, I am comfortable with a lot of different practices because of what I remember from other lifetimes. And so for me, DNA is a moot thing completely. That's why I don't do ancestor worship, because I don't know how I would find them all.
However, if you want,
difficult.
however, that doesn't mean, getting into touch with the energy of the original culture is perfectly doable. It probably helps if you have similar DNA, but certainly not necessity.
So Eve says, I like a gratitude list myself. That's a good thing to have, because being grateful for the things that are around us makes us have a more positive relationship with our environment. Luna says, Moonfire Dawn, not sure if you made a typo, but it's Barden. Just don't want you searching for books by the wrong author. Eve says, gratitude works wonders. And I agree, it does. Canary says that Jono, just because someone is angry doesn't mean there's a demon or negative in nature. This is true. Chantel says no.
I take it that means she's not living there.
Oh,
not going to be living there.
Good, that's that. In that case, here's what you can do. So first, I would go to my video on banishing and cleansing and ghost proofing your house. So that would be the first thing that I would do if I was going in a house that I knew had negative energy to start with. So I would go through the entire house and banish all the energy that's in it that's not me. I mean, everything. Her energy, anything, spirits, ghosts, or whatever, anything negative that's there. And you can do it with a broom, going widdershins around the entire house. And if it's really bad energy, you got to keep on checking with yourself because the energy will turn you around. You'll be going clockwise before you know it. So if you're going to be doing counterclockwise, you got to stick with it. So you start at the front door of the place, and then you go through every single room, and then end at the front door. If there's more than 2 floors, you go through the bottom until you get to the stairs, go upstairs, go through the entire upstairs, then back down the stairs, and then around the rest of the house until you get back to the front door. So that's number 1. Then I would do banging of pots and pans. If you have a group with you, have them do it with you and cleanse the entire place of all of that. Ring bells, sweep all that stuff out the door, chase it away. And then I would go about sealing the house. And I go through that with the video and how to seal the house to keep human spirits from coming in. If you got a ghost, you might want to help it cross over before you do that part, and so forth. And then fill the house with all things you. Fill the house with the music that you love, with the sounds, the scents, the smells, the food, the incense, whatever it is, whatever it happens to be. Fill it with laughter and joy. Bring your best friends over and have yourself a wonderfully good time and fill that house up with all that stuff, and her energy will be gone. And any spells that she did in the house will no longer function because you have claimed the space for yourself. So that's what I would do. Thank you for reminding me who that was because my brain gets going. So Jonathan says, Barden is the greatest magician of the contemporary age. Most of the time, the Alcove is the unofficial Barden fan club, as it should be. Eve says, sorry if my comments are confusing, lots of kids.
Understand.
Chantel says, buying the house and she has to leave by nothing I have done.
Good,
yes.
That's even better.
And that's even better because there's no personal connection between you and her. So even if she holds a grudge, she doesn't have any energy to base it on because you actually didn't do anything. So, perfect. I like it. Chill Baby says, my point is, if you followed me this far, I've recently discovered that over 70% of my DNA is English, who then all moved to Appalachia. I can actually find books on Appalachian folk magic, but English? Any recommendations? Well, the ceremonial magic is a lot of that, but the Hedge Witch, check out Sybil Leek. She was a member of a hereditary magic group. Of course, Gardner was English. Wicca kind of started in England before it came to the United States.
Gardner was in contact with some hereditary witches and Crowley, and which he borrowed from both.
But the ceremonialist, England and all throughout Europe was actually the base for a lot of those practices and practitioners and so forth, was throughout Europe, not even starting with John Dee, but,
and even back to the Templars, and, the Templars were considered to have esoteric secrets, and that is what the OTO actually stands for, the Oriental Templars, the Order of the Templars of the Orient, to be accurate about it.
Okay, so Jonathan says, Canary, I was a little tongue-in-cheek, but I've been trying to dissuade Violet's fascination with demons and the Goetta for well over a year now. I know not all bad stuff means demons. Mary says, I don't like the idea of being pinned down to a certain thing. If I ever felt the need to explore other options.
I agree.
That's why I'm eclectic.
Yep.
Exactly. So, Canary says that Jono, I know I also agree with you about demons. Eve Wolf says a lot of stars and sun and clouds and stars and
I
hearts
like the
and
emojis. She also said a line above. Seriously, I am so grateful that you and Ian had decided to see this channel through.
oh, thank you. I missed that one. And there's been difficulty in explaining to my children and helping them to understand what's really going on. Cool, though. I'm glad we can help. Canary says, I am terrible at choosing books magic for myself. I've spent so much money on books.
Well, me too. You'd have to, us two, both of us, you'd have to see our collection of books, which is everywhere throughout the house.
Yeah,
in here.
there's a bookcase full, half a bookcase full, another bookcase, another bookcase, another bookcase, and an entire set of shelves. It has other books besides just magic, but a whole pile of magic books in there as well. But that's the thing. It's like I bought a few books, and I thought, oh, this is going to be great. This is going to be about exactly what I want. And then I opened it up, and it's like, not
Yeah.
at all. And I'm like, ah.
Well, you know, they won't build up like that in a digital archive, but over years, you know, you've been collecting these books for 30 or 40 years, they begin to make a large mass of material.
Eve says, but it's worth it as far as explaining goes. Don't spend money on books. Yes, you can download a bunch of books. Moonfire Dawn says, Google Spell just insisted on spelling his name that way, and I wanted to keep up with the conversation. Thanks, though. Violet says, he, demons. I do have a fascination with them because they are part of a day and night cosmic clock system that I like to build, and they are connected to the starry vault as well.
Well, they are interesting, you know, and really I have no problem with people working with them as long as they realize that the word demons doesn't mean they're evil necessarily, depending on
Well, the original
you're
word
dealing
meant
with, yeah.
spirit. That was it.
Yeah, the original word meant spirit, and
I had that question in one of the paranormal groups I'm in. Someone says, did you know that demon wasn't always bad? I said, yes, it used to be spelled D-A-E-M-O-N, and
Yeah,
it
you
meant
know,
spirit,
really-
so there,
really
I know.
that's what a person would look for if they want to get in contact with deities or with the abilities to do lots of bad things and nasty stuff to people. But if that's not what you're going for, then, well, I read about them because I was interested. Just an interest, though. I'm not trying to, you know, bring them up. And anyway, sorry, not that I don't want to beat on that subject again.
So Eve says, write your own, my dear. Chantel says, thank you, you're welcome. Jill Baby says, oh, but Ian, we are also physical. Yes, our soul genealogy does play a part, but our physical DNA would then also play a part, don't you think? But yes, I do think any human can participate, benefit, true.
Well,
I think it really
it's-
depends. I mean, I remembered so many past lives at this point. We're talking 20 plus, and remembered them vividly enough that I remember them. I mean, it's not just like somebody told me I was this or that. So it really does depend upon the individual.
Yeah, but I won't say physical DNA can't play a part, but then you have to watch out for that because then you get into the whole eugenics program and the getting a pure, like the Nazis wanted a pure Aryan race, you know, getting
That's
that
what
racial
happened with the
purity thing
Asatru.
started. Yes, so you have to be careful about that aspects too. But I agree, DNA. I think that because I have some Native American DNA in me, I feel that's probably the reason I have a sort of a natural inclination and liking for the Native American stuff.
So Canary says, it's not always as hard as you think. I had an entity once that felt very negative one day. I just looked at it and says, you will just go. And it did. That's called your personal authority.
Yep, awesome.
It's a
That's
good
how it
thing.
should work. That's how you want it to
That's
work.
how it's supposed to work.
Yep.
Violet says, oh my God, I got a library, Canary. It's insane. Luna says, Moonfire Dawn, I was just up against this myself when I was making my comment to you. That kept changing your name to Moonrise.
Well, that's all right. I've heard Siofra called Chill Baby Chillberry several times without realizing.
Eli says, hi. Hi, Eli. Canary says, Violet, sounds really cool. I'd love something like that. OTO. Ooh, cool. Balloonhead says, ha! I'm glad I made it even though the stream is almost over. I know, it's gone fast today.
That's good. Means we're
It's a
having
good
fun.
thing, yes. Luna says, hi, Eli. Canary says, ordered one book online, my recent purchase, and it was a child's pop-up book. I download it, but I really do like having physical copy.
Well, I do
if it's
too.
a pop-up book, I mean, you can't really get the full effect in the.
Yeah, well, we have Barden's books downloaded, but I still prefer my physical copy, even though it's getting in pretty sad shape at this point. Years and years. It was used when I bought it to start with originally. I've only used it for many years since.
So Luna says, Canary, that sucks. Canary says that Luna, it really, really does. I'm like, I swear, I have intuition. But is it working? Moonfire Dawn says, I plan to put money towards books, but I am still getting stuff from my new apartment. I have gotten some good stuff from the library, just not Barden's first book, which I really wanted. It's pricey.
Yes, it is. There is now a paperback version out. For many years, there was just the hardcover version. So you can get a paperback version, and it's cheaper, but I think it's still pretty expensive. I think years back we paid like 35 or 40 bucks for it or something, as a
used book.
No, it wasn't.
That wasn't a used book.
It
okay.
was new, but as a soft cover. Yeah.
So Luna says, Canary, I'm the same. Jonathan is always telling me to download my books, but I do love me a physical copy. Sophia says, is there any recommended book about how to remember past lives? No, not really. It's not something I actually recommend people do on purpose. I didn't do it on purpose. It kind of happened to me. So, I don't know. There's a lot of people who've written books about it. Some physicians, a psychiatrist or whatever that's encountered people. There's some interesting tales and things out there. It's not necessarily useful to remember a past life. It really depends on what's going on.
Yeah.
Balloonhead says, oh, like how they spelled in the series is dark materials. People's spirits are manifested as animals and they're called demons. Yes.
Yes, exactly. And in the past, that term, especially when it's spelled with a D-A-E like that, was used to indicate any type of spirit that would do something. Any type of action that could be performed at a distance would be considered a daemon. Any being that could do any action at a distance. So that would include the good ones and the bad ones. And that got separated out for the biblical stuff, I guess. But yeah, that was the original, I believe, Greek term.
Yeah,
unless
it was
I'm
Greek.
mistaken. Yeah.
So, Canary says that Luna, it's nice to see them all there. Violet says, oh, I like that, personal authority. Luna says, Canary, I know, but now I don't have any bookshelf space and I have books piled up all over the floor. Violet says, I recently added all 3 Barden's books to my collection and they have 2 new paperbacks. Good. Yeah, expensive.
Yep.
Moonfire Dawn says, I'm old enough to prefer books, but young enough to adapt. His soft cover is $50. Wow.
$50 now, yep. That's a lot of money
Books have
for
gone
a book.
up in price. Jonathan says, Ian, I reckon your Barden book must have some strong mojo built up in it after the way you have used it. Probably true.
Well, I couldn't say, but I've had contact with books that other people have used since I used to have a habit of buying used grimoires and things. I've definitely had some that had a lot of energy on them when I've got them, and I haven't run across one that had a lot of good energy on it yet.
So Canary says, I got traumatized by a past life, and I'm like, why did you show me that? Those are the things that are easiest to remember, which is why I don't recommend doing it on purpose.
Yeah, it's too easy to bring back your traumas
the
and
intense,
things.
Horrific stuff,
Yeah.
and the intense good
And
stuff.
especially,
But the horrible stuff is first.
Yeah, and imagine, that like you remember your past life and the first thing you remember is being a woman and being raped or something like that. No reason to invite that. I highly recommend staying away from the past life stuff unless you've gone through Barden's book to the point where you can do that naturally and it comes naturally. There are different things. Kundalini awakening will make it happen naturally. But yeah, I'm all for the natural thing and not investigating too far, because chances are you won't find out you're some celebrity, you know. Chances are you'll...
Or the king or queen
be
of
the-
whatever.
Yeah, chances are
The
you'll...
pharaoh,
Life of a peasant, you know, and
most of them.
you may consider that if you're doing things right, according to the reincarnation theory, then you should be improving yourself each lifetime. So the farther you remember back, probably the more obnoxious of a person you were, though that's, you know, not
It's
necessarily
humbling.
true.
It's
Yeah.
humbling because, yes, you do find that out as well. So Jonathan says, this evening with you lovely witches has been so brilliant for me, healing even. Have a wonderful week, everyone. Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Bep
Yep.
says, Socrates called his inner guide Damon. He described it
Yes,
as
that's
telling
true.
him what not to do, but not what to do.
Yep.
Luna says, I'm so happy I finally made it to the alcove after a long absence. Thank you, Siofra, blessings for all the week ahead. Thank you very much. Moonfire says, energy on books is what I hate about libraries.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yep.
All right, so I guess our time together
All right,
is up
blessed
right now.
be everyone. Thank you
So,
for being so
yes,
active of an audience.
Yes, this has been a great
Keeping us
interaction.
entertained. Yep.
We really, really enjoyed this. We always do when it goes well. So,
Blessed be everybody. Goodbye, good day, good night, whatever time it is, wherever you're at.
now I have to figure out how to do this. End stream. All right.